Now, all right, men and women, all right, or certain people have what's called male pattern baldness. Now, it starts different ways. Sometimes it starts from the front and goes to the back. Sometimes it starts with a little spot on the back and goes to the front, right? And the only reason I know that is TV and seeing it and people's hair on TV, right? Now, uneven hair, and see, his is fluffy, his is uneven a little, but it don't mean you say, oh, he's going bald, right? Because you got a little uneven hair, or he's going bald, or whatever, right? People don't normally point out if someone's going bald or not, unless they're talking about a family member they're trying to not make it a big deal. But the family member won't understand, maybe. I don't know, right? But again, right, going bald is a sensitive subject sometimes to people too, right? I try not to bring it up a lot, right? Now, some people, like I said, like for instance from Africa, their hair is kind of coarse and curly. Reason for that is in Africa, there's no real moisture, right? To adapt to that environment where it's hot and dry all the time, like in Australia and the Aborigines, right? Who had the same problem with their hair. Not this really a problem, but it's how it works, right? Both continents, one halfway across the world, separated from each other by thousands of miles, right? The people from each climate look the same, right? That's called adaptation, scientists, not evolution. Okay? Your body adapts too, right? Just trying to explain something to you. Now, our maker, our designer, you are a design thing scientist, like you're trying to play a designer, right? So you get that from something, right? The thing that made you, right? The problem is you want to see what you can't see unless you're dead. See, what's in you is what is God, right? Now, the thing is, it designed your body to host it, if you will. So that as long as it's in you, you're alive. Now, the thing that Moses is suggesting, since he's a religious figure, is that Adam and Eve were told in Eden, there's a tree it called, and someone else is speaking to him, so I assume that's the tree of life, or the voice of God walking up and down in the garden in the cool of the day. Now, if you're walking in the garden, right, you have to be a human being, right? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil also, if you're told not to eat of the fruit of his body, right, like a fruit tree's body, right, that makes that a metaphor. Now, if your body is corrupted by his body, and he kills himself, right, after the corruption, that would probably kill anything born, right? Both lower than you, right? And you yourself. Reason being, right? Is his body suffered death, right? And since he died and had sex with Eve and then Adam, right? Which is what it means for human beings to reproduce with one another, fruitful and multiply. How do we do that? Even the animals are fruitful and multiplying, right? Right? That's sex. Even a whale has a penis, but it's 4 foot long. Some think they're seeing the whale's penis and thinking it a serpent, right? Especially the sailors. You know, 4 foot long penis might kind of make you think it's a serpent, huh? Right. Well, if Satan is hiding behind a tree, say the fig tree, and whether a serpent itself is involved or not, right? Okay, but in order to be involved, right? Somehow Eve thinks it's talking to her. The only other account of an animal speaking in the Bible at all, besides Moses in the burning bush or Abraham, right? Only certain people hear voices to begin with in the Bible. One of them is Eve. Then Moses hears something speaking to him that tells him to leave Ur and go to Canaan, right? And sojourn there, and he goes to Egypt and all that. Add a voice in his head, right? I know. He don't see who's talking to him. He don't think it's a burning bush. He don't think it's his donkey. Right? He just hears a voice in his head. And doesn't associate it with any inanimate object. Right? Either. So, Moses' take on why we die is what's being explained here. So if this being had sex with us and then went and killed itself, that's also Pandora's box, right? Or the first STD. If our body is then connected to his body and he kills himself, that could explain why Adam didn't drop down right away, but still died 930 years later. AIDS works that way, don't it? Yeah. It kills you slowly. Satan is the father of STDs, idiot. and mother. Another thing you don't understand is he was both, right? That's why I'm trying to show you the Song of Solomon, and where she's comparing her man to an apple tree, and his mouth, his fruit, is in her mouth, right? What is she talking about there? What fruit of the man can be in her mouth, in her palate, right? It's called the penis, right? Also looks like a banana and 2 grapes, if you will. Half of one anyway. Or a cucumber, half of one anyway. Couple vegetables, you know what I mean, and the fruit itself. Could also look like a serpent if someone's hiding behind a fig tree. And Eve thinks it's the serpent speaking to her in the tree. Now, a fig tree is kind of odd, right? The thing about a fig tree is its bushes are about halfway up its trunk, right? And it kind of has an open area, and someone could stand behind it, with an erect penis, by the way, And Eve think the penis is a serpent. Right? This is what they don't want you to hear. Isaiah pointed out that men will not see this, say this, or hear this, though it's in the scriptures. Jesus explained it to the disciples before he left, and they were supposed to explain it to the church. Problem is, when Emperor Constantine heard all this stuff, he couldn't handle the truth. He changed it all to fit his pagan beliefs in male deities. In Constantine's belief, the male is God, right? The female is just his little servant, right? It has nothing to do with it, really, right? And she's to serve him, right? Right. As his slaves, even a sex slave if he wants, right? And so, Adam and Eve were at one time in the same body, right? God took bone and flesh from him to make her, or from his side. The thing is, though, they speculate that the bone was a rib, right? So what was the flesh, right? So if you have an extra floating rib, the reason you have that is you have more internal organs, right? But both the male and female typically both have 12 ribs, right? Yeah. For 24. But the 12th rib of the female was taken from the male. And from that rib, God made her body as it made Adam's body the rest of the way. They won't even tell you that. But of course you know it did. But why don't you say it did? That's what Isaiah means. You know there's more to the story than meets the eye, but you won't fill in the gap. Ezekiel said that. There are gaps in the story, right? For instance, you go from day 6 to day 7, right? In chapter 3. And I guess, right?